All right, we're discussing the impact of the Pakistan election. The Pakistani electorate has voted. Counting is on. Results could be out by around 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's go back to our guest, and I'd like to put the first question to Ambassador KC Singh. Ambassador KC Singh, how would South Bloc, how would the Ministry of External Affairs and the Indian government be viewing this election?
Well, as it is, the relationship has really been at a standstill. We've had really no government in Pakistan for the last few months. Nawaz had been knocked out in May, so for about 2 or 3 months, and then there's a transitional government. But by the time the new government settles down, now if Imran comes in, it's possible, as most prime ministers do, he may start making, less radical statements. He may try to reach out, but by then India would be going into its own election phase. Because, what is left of the current term of the Lok Sabha? By another 2 months, they'll be really heading towards Lok Sabha elections. So I think it's essentially South Bloc will be playing a defensive game. We have a High Commissioner there. They'll wait and see how the new Prime Minister pans out, how he reaches out, Now, one thing which is, of course, still pending is the SAARC meeting. So we don't know whether India will release the hold on that and we have a SAARC meeting, or we just continue till India also faces an election and then decides, watches the current government for some time. By then we have our elections, and then decide after that what the next government, this government comes back or another government is there, how they want to deal with Pakistan. But at the same time, if Imran is also capable of dramatic gestures, he's a former cricket captain, he's a charismatic figure, he can carry the masses with him, but that may also invite him the opposition of the army, because army doesn't like Pakistani prime ministers to play on their own, the game with India. So I doubt if he's going to do it in the beginning. He'll start slowly. He has other things on his plate. And then also depends who his coalition members are. One point I wanted to note, that in the current delimitation which has just taken place, Punjab has lost 7 seats. From 148, they've come to 141. Now what you need for a majority is 137. So from out of 148, you could get close to 137. But from 141, there's no way you can get 137. So I don't think anybody with support in Punjab, like in the Nawaz Sharif, can hope to reach a majority by just the Punjab vote. They'll have to carry other provinces with them.
Okay. Absolutely. And I'd like to get in Gul Bukhari here. We have been speaking about, and this is something that Ambassador KC Singh has also pointed out, that there will probably be a coalition. You'll have to rely on other smaller players also. In this election, we have seen the rise of several extremist groups. Hafiz Saeed, Milli Muslim League could not contest, but we believe at least 200 candidates backed by him and the Milli Muslim League are contesting this election. And the 2611 mastermind himself very calmly voted today. So what does this really say about the establishment and about the Pakistani election? And what kind of a role would a person like Hafiz Saeed have in the next government?
Well, it remains to be seen. Let me tell you, he has fielded 300 candidates. And we have seen him field candidates in some of the previous by-polls since September last year. And in each contest, his candidate got about, say, 7, 8, 9,000 votes. Therefore, if that pattern, and each time, in each by-poll. So therefore, I do not actually see any of his candidates in the legislature. And I believe that his party and his candidates have been fielded basically to divide the vote. So it cuts. Now, it was designed, this guy as well as the Tehreek Labbaik party, they were designed to cut away the conservative or religious vote of the N League. However, what we saw in some of the by-polls was that they ended up cutting the PTIs, especially in Peshawar. So it will be quite it will be something to see as to whose votes they have cut, whose lead they have cut eventually all over Pakistan. But, with maybe even 10,000, 12,000 votes, I do not expect a single one of Milli Muslim League candidates getting into the assemblies, actually.
Okay, Gul, on that note, I'll go across to Shailesh.
Yeah.
Shailesh has been waiting patiently. Shailesh, we have been talking about the influence of the army, and clearly the influence has been a lot, extensive on this election, on the campaign. How much room, considering that we've seen mainstreaming of extremist groups like the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, like those of Hafiz Saeed, how much room will the new Prime Minister, new government have for maneuvering when it comes to ties with India?
Yeah, not much is the simple answer. So as the ambassador a couple of points. As the ambassador pointed out, India's about to go into an election season. In my assessment, the election season began with the no confidence vote last week. And so you're in an election cycle in India unofficially. There's absolutely zero appetite on the Indian side, in my opinion, to have any discussions at the moment with Pakistan. The second point is, the Pakistani civilian government has very limited autonomy when it comes to foreign policy. The only real policy matter they can control independently is probably economic policy. National security, defense, foreign policy, relations with India, relations with Afghanistan, relations with the U.S., these are all within the Army's domain. And as the ambassador also pointed out, every time you've seen a prime minister freelance and try to independently manage an India policy, he's very quickly slapped down by the Army. This is a huge risk to consider because you've seen this become very problematic in past instances where a prime minister tries to go out and do something independently, and the Army sends a signal either indirectly or sometimes, unfortunately, directly, which means a terrorist event. So I don't think that the civilian government's going to have much scope or opportunity to do anything with India. The Army simply is just not going to allow it at the moment.
Okay, Shailesh, we're running out of time. I'll put one quick question to Raza. Raza, if you can just sum this up in 15 seconds, what really is the future for Nawaz Sharif and the PMLN?
So I feel that the PMLN may lose out on forming the federal government. Of course, it's very early to say, but certainly in the last 1 year it has emerged as a formidable party and a force to reckon with. And with Nawaz's daughter, Mariam, as a likely successor, I don't think we can wish away Nawaz Sharif that soon.
All right, Raza Ahmed Rumi, thank you very much for joining us. And we'd like to thank all our guests, Ambassador KC Singh, Gul Bukhari, and also Shailesh for joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. We'd like to leave you with this thought, and this is a quote from the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, which said that there are now ample grounds to doubt the legitimacy of these elections. There are alarming implications for Pakistan's transition to an effective democracy. We agree with our guests that we need to still wait for the election outcome, but the fact is the new Prime Minister, new government will have to send a very positive message about the legitimacy of this election to the global community. Thanks for watching.